It's the Chinese-Colombian connection, by the way. That's what it is. It's like China and Colombia are shaking hands.
You know, it's not showing up on your Facebook page.
It is now. It's getting there. Alrighty then.
So it's still not there.
Oh, is it on yours?
No, I'm telling you, it's not there.
Limbo.
All I can say is I am so proud of the Buckeyes grabbing that number one quarterback in the country as a junior and having him skip his senior year to play. There it is.
What's the downside? I don't understand what the downside is.
That's not the beginning of the end, is it? Yeah, pretty soon there's going to be an 8th grader playing.
Oh, there'll be a fetus. They'll sign a fetus at some point. I mean.
All right, we're good. We are good.
All right, ready when you are.
Lighting today is particularly stellar.
I think it really is. Brings out my cheekbones.
It is. All right, it's the Brad and Britt cast. Welcome to the week. We are excited. We're thrilled. And I don't know, do you want to go with shit? There's a lot of shit too stupid to talk about, and there's just a lot of shit. So pick your category of shit, Alex.
We had finished up last week. We I know it's kind of it's in the past, but that Tucker Carlson week in Hungary. Wow, what a tour de force that entire thing was, huh? What a big deal that turned out to be. Holy shit.
Britt, let me just tell you something. I read up a lot, and it's difficult to argue with the no. Tucker Carlson is a menace.
Yeah.
He is a problem for this country.
Right.
He is a fifth column agent against democracy who is on television 5 nights a week. You know, it was one thing for all those years when the Fox News channel was just a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week commercial for the Republican Party. That was bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
But now look where they've moved to. They've moved into having their most famous guy go over and praise one of the most insidious enemies of freedom and democracy, but they cloak it in all of the buzzwords and the backwards marketing of everything that Donald Trump stands for. I am shocked that Trump has not had him to Mar-a-Lago already. Mm-hmm. Now, there are pictures of the two of them. They do get along famously. That is a thing. That is absolutely a thing. Viktor Orban, the man who puts his cronies in the court system, destroys the free press, oppresses minorities, builds a wall, and says Hungary is basically for Hungarians only, meaning white people who are mostly Christian.
And don't forget heterosexual. Don't forget heterosexual. He hates the gays too.
Right. He checks all the boxes.
Yeah.
That's Trumpism, Eastern European style, and the two of those guys, they are one. And to have a member of the United States media, an entertainer, go over there and do what he did and trash the United States. Again, you do get to play the game of what if Rachel Maddow went over to Sweden and said, your system is so great and it is so much better. You know, and we don't even have to finish the sentence. So this is something to watch. It is something to make note of. And it's not as if he went there for a day, a couple of hours, did some interviews and turned. No, you were there for a week.
Mhm.
The length of time that he was there tells you everything that this is the future of this is just like someone going, if television existed in the 1930s, going over and doing a week in Germany and hanging out
Yeah.
with Der Fuhrer
Yeah.
and saying, have you seen the roads that they're building over here?
These
Holy
trains,
shit.
these trains are running right on time. You wouldn't
No, that was
believe
in
some-
Italy.
Oh, sorry.
No, Mussolini made their trains run on time. Hitler built the Autobahn. Okay.
Yes, yes.
And these Volkswagens,
Oh,
one day,
what a car.
a lot of people are going to be driving Volkswagens.
The Fords and
the same
the,
thing.
the Fords and the Chevys are good, but these Volkswagens, holy
Right.
ship, these are the best things ever.
Okay. All right. So
there's a couple of different levels.
Yeah.
First of all, he doesn't just pack up and go, "Hey, you guys want to do the show over in Hungary? Let's go ahead and grab a plane." This has to go through layers. Like the people who approve the budget have to think about this and go, "What are we doing at Fox? And what message are we sending if we let him go over there for a week and suck this guy's balls?
I think
what do we do?"
I think you're giving way too much credit.
Well, there has to be there's a process,
no.
but there is a process of approval.
No,
there is a
process
process of approval.
Who's the king? Who's the king of that channel, Britt? Who does what he wants, Britt? Who is not told anything on what they can say, do, or who has no supervision, Britt?
Sean Hannity.
And but who more so now? Who's the biggest star on that channel?
Tucker.
Now,
it's Tucker by far.
Okay, so that's the end of that.
Well, no, but they had the thing over the weekend, the Dan Bongino interview with Stupid Ass. Stupid Ass comes on there and talks about how they stole the election. So the big furor, not F-U-H-R-E-R, F-U-R-O-R, the big furor was that when they put the clip up on the Fox YouTube channel, they edited out the part about Donald Trump lying about the election being stolen. And he slams Fox News and he's outraged at Fox News. So again, some sort of careful consideration went into not publishing that on social media. They put it on the air. It's fine. But no, we're not going to put that on YouTube. Meanwhile, there's no careful consideration of we're going to send this guy and his crew to Hungary and pay for it for a week. And we're going to do it like an infomercial for authoritarianism and anti-democracy.
I agree. I agree. And it's trouble. It's just it's trouble coming down the line, and we're way past thinking, oh, the free market's going to take care of this. People are going to realize. People can see what's in front of them. It's not going to convince anybody. Who would be silly? And the answer is too many people, too many Americans, and we've got stupid people in this country. Way too many of them. Which leads us to. I'll play the game here. Dolphin dope disses doses. What do you think?
That's a lot of alliteration from you, asshole.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
I got a strong D in that course. Here's a guy named Adam Sheehan, a tight end. I don't know. Do you know the name? Is he familiar to you?
I don't know the guy per se. No, I don't think he's a big star or anything.
No, he's not. He's 26 years old. He's been injured for a few. He's nobody. And he says he ain't going to let no NFL strong arm him into getting no COVID vaccine. And he says the NFL is taking away freedoms by making unvaccinated players take extra precautions. For me, it's personal choice, and it's bigger than just COVID. I'm glad he's a big thinker, that he realizes once they get you to take the vaccine, it's all over. That's it. Now, it's pathetic, of course, and this guy is just a moron. And I think the NFL now is 90% vaccinated. That's pretty good, but it should be 100%. And the union shouldn't be sitting around waiting for official confirmation by the FDA that the drug is approved and all that kind of whatever shit they're using as an excuse to not make the players all get vaccinated. I mean, this is a league that tells you that you have to tuck your shirt in while you're playing. You can't have a shirt out, that you have to wear your socks at a certain length. This is a league that tells you shit to do. But apparently the league is not allowed to tell every player. They can tell the coaches, they can tell everyone else, but not the players, that they have to be vaccinated. And this dope, this Adam Sheehan, steps out there. And what really got me pissed about this story is I was reading a column in the Miami Herald basically justifying it's about this guy is showing courage.
Yeah,
He's showing that he won't go along with the crowd. Speaking of assholes, have you seen the Rand Paul video? Holy shit. Rand Paul, 100% off the rails. He thinks he is the Winston Churchill of anti-vaxxers, okay? Making some kind of crazy ass, it's about a 3-minute thing. He stuck it up on Twitter that we will not allow them to do this. This is where we draw the line. If they do this, they do that. It's just horrible.
Right.
It's just horrible. And on and on we go with these kind of people. And they are the problem. And, I don't have an answer. But I did make an executive decision on myself yesterday.
Yeah.
I did decide to go back to the gym. I took about a week off.
Okay.
I took about a week off, and then I thought about it, and I said, well, wait a minute. First of all, there aren't that many people there to begin with.
Right.
And second of all, most of the people are probably vaccinated. Maybe a few aren't. I don't know. But there's tons of air blowing around, and I'm not within 15 or 20 feet of anybody, and I'm vaccinated. Mm-hmm. What is the risk there for me? It's pretty small. And the greater risk is not going to the gym and just sitting there watching Leave It to Beaver reruns, eating bonbons on my couch while petting the dog. That's inactivity is a much greater risk to me than going there. So I went, and so I'm going to keep going back now to the gym until further notice. And I'm okay with it. It's a better risk than going to grocery stores and places like that. So there you go. That's just me. I'm recommending anybody do anything like that.
Well, the breakthrough infections again are they're coming, but again, you don't get as sick. Sometimes you're not even symptomatic. I mean, that's happened in some of those breakthroughs and stuff. So yeah, I think it's a wise decision. I don't think it's an unwise decision. Meanwhile, the bodies are literally stacking up in Florida. There's some picture of Governor DeSantis. His battle against mask and vaccine mandates approaches a boiling point in Florida. Now, I'd wondered if he was paying some sort of price for this. I believe they said he was about 15 points to the good in polls back in May. And the most recent ones, he's 5 points underwater. So he's not doing as well as he could. Apparently, people in the Sunshine State, if I may use the vernacular that they're going to use on cable television when they talk about this, apparently they're not quite as happy with him as the hospitals are overloaded and the bodies begin to stack up in Florida.
Well, Britt, this is a man who doesn't look at short-term polling results. This is a man who looks at the big picture and understands that he will be vindicated by history. He will be looked at as a visionary. Remember that shit that he was throwing around about 8 months ago, where he was just making fun of everybody because he kept Florida, quote unquote, open while everybody else was a lot more cautious. And then he bragged they had a couple of weeks where the cases didn't go up and they went down, and because it's cyclical. It moves around the country. I don't know. I mean, the statistics are out, and I would say that you could only characterize now Florida and Louisiana and I believe it's Arkansas as shithole countries if they were by themselves, because the top 4 places on earth for COVID spread right now are, number one is Florida. No, Louisiana's number one. And Botswana, the country in Africa, is number 2, and then Louisiana, or then Florida and Arkansas as independent geographic entities. Those are your top 4 countries or places or states very recently, like over the weekend. So, look, this is the hill he's decided to live and or die on. He thinks by being the Uncola that he's going to be the most popular product on the shelf, and that's going to be a track. It's one thing to do this and think that your hometown fans who sort of know you as governor now for what's he been governor 2 years or something like that, not that long, and that's going to work. But if it's not playing in Florida now, and it's not, and it shouldn't, okay, then what do you think that looks like to the rest of us out here? We're laughing at you. Not really, but we think you're crazy.
Yeah.
We think you're nuts. So the three of the four, let's look at the four biggest states: Florida, New York, California, and Texas. All right.
Right.
So first of all, it looks like Gavin Newsom could get kicked out of office and Andrew Cuomo might stay. Okay. There's your balance on the coast. Wait a minute. And then you have dope A and dope B in Texas and in Florida. Those two guys are the ones that should be impeached, but they can't be, I'm sure, and they won't be.
Is that recall effort really in California gaining some traction? I mean, I heard it was going to happen, but I thought he was going to beat it.
Yeah, it seems like the polling is all over the place, and I know you've never heard this before. I'm going to break. I think it's going to depend on turnout. I think it's really going to depend on turnout.
I'd heard, again, the Caitlyn Jenner factor, trying to really gin up that base. But I heard that
I think Caitlyn Jenner has about 2%. Okay.
Yeah.
There could not be anything there. Again, that's too stupid to talk about. Now, I just talked to my older brother who lives in Orange County, and he was leaving as we got off the phone to get training. He is going to be helping in the effort to keep Gavin Newsom in office. He's going to be working for the Democratic Party there. They're going to train him, and well, he's on the right side of history. I do believe out there.
We're just getting some new information about who's listening to the podcast version of our Brad and Brittcast.
Yeah.
Our number one state is North Carolina. 47% of the people who are downloading or listening are from North Carolina. Do you know what number two is? This will be interesting for you. With 9%.
Florida.
It's California. California with 9%, followed by South Carolina with 4%. There's Texas with 3%, and several in there. Florida's in that 3% mix. So we are beloved and celebrated in the great state of California, the Golden State.
Should we talk about the latest either current or former radio idiot to live the gimmick and then die as an anti-vaxxer?
Well, it's not a good ending. It's really a very sad ending. Go ahead.
This is another guy we've never heard of, really.
Right.
And I'm surprised I haven't heard of him, because he was on the radio in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, for I guess many years. And my parents used to live down. I was down there a lot. I listened to the radio a lot, and I'd never heard of this guy. His name was Dick Farrell. 65 years old. He was famous in recent times on Facebook and on social media for calling Dr. Fauci a power-tripping lying freak who was conspiring with power trip lib goons. He called the vaccine bogus bullshit promoted by people who lied to you all along. Ha, 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 ha. And he did that as recently as last month. And as soon as he got hospitalized, of course, he changed his tune. And now we're to the point, Britt, where the question becomes, as we analyze all these kinds of stories, do they make a difference to anyone? Does anyone watching this who is an anti-vaxxer see someone like this, who they may respect, or they may have listened to, or they may have followed, or when they found out this guy was trashing Fauci all along, they might have thought, this is a pretty smart guy, and then he gets it and he dies. Does that change anybody's mind? We're probably past that, because now, Britt, you can't give in, right? If you've been you cannot let the bastards win. You can't go out there and get vaccinated now. You'd be letting them win, right?
Yeah.
Think how stupid that, how crazy.
If you guys, if you're watching this either in real time or later on, there's a picture of Dick Farrell, who looks a little bit like adult film star Ron Jeremy, adult film legend. There he is with his Trump t-shirt on. I assume that's his wife, who has now been widowed because he was an idiot. But a deathbed conversion nonetheless.
Other than that. But by the way, to to add some foundation to this idea here, that nothing is ever new. There are new, everything repeats. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes, la, 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 la. There's a writer for, I think, Slate, and she's done the deep digging, and found out that in 1902, there was a smallpox outbreak across the country, and particularly in the Northeast, and it was bad. It was bad. And there were anti-vaxxers then. They did not believe in it. They said it didn't work. It just, everything you're hearing now, they were saying then it wasn't proven. Now, there was no FDA approval back then. It was, the government did not control the distribution of vaccines. And by the way, because what happened then, the government started to down the road to the regulations we kind of see today. But there was a doctor in Boston who was the leading anti-vaccination freak of his day. He went around, he says, this does not work. And he, like these talk show hosts in a way, wanted to show that he could live the gimmick. So he intentionally went and got smallpox. He went to hospitals. Wait. He went to hospitals. He got right up close and personal with the patients. And lo and behold,
cough on me? Would you cough on me?
Right. And lo and behold, guess what happened? He got smallpox.
Yeah.
And then guess what? He lived.
He lived.
Didn't die. He didn't die. Wait, it gets worse. It gets worse. Although it gets better. He didn't die. We're glad he didn't die. He's still alive, by the way, and practicing. He's 174. I can't remember his name. So he didn't die. And then, of course, the questions were thrown. Did this teach you anything? Did you learn anything? Have you changed your... And of course, what did he do? He dug in. He said, absolutely not. And it turns out, and I guess they didn't know that at the time, but this version of smallpox was not quite as virulent as the kind that was used, by the settlers to kill off the Indians, a couple centuries before that. So that's probably why he lived. But the point is that this anti-vaccination idea and concept, which of course is now more widely thought of by a lot than back then, it's not new. It's been there forever. But it really feels right now, and we always think that the stakes are so much higher now than they've ever been. But I don't know. I don't know how we get over the mountain here. I mean, look, shit's starting to get canceled. Shit's getting real. Concerts are getting canceled, right? Mm-hmm. Festivals are getting canceled. We're going to start. I guarantee you there's going to be more baseball games that start getting canceled soon when more players start to get it. And it's happening. And
now, wait a minute. Are we still of the idea that perhaps if a very famous person gets it and dies, then it will be helpful to a segment of America? Are we still on that?
You know what? No, I don't think we're on that anymore.
I think we're done. I don't think that. I think it's over. Nothing's going to get through to these people.
No, we're done with that.
Listen, I still contend in some place like Florida, at least in a district, I think these deaths are going to. I mean, they could end up costing the Republicans an election, at least in some way, because they're just piling up, and it's mostly Republican voters who are getting taken out anyway. So
I don't know whether that's necessarily true that it's Republicans that are dying, because it infects everybody.
Yeah, but the people who are getting vaccinated and the ones who are less likely to get sick are definitely Democrats. Democrats are way more likely to be vaccinated.
Well, I'm not quite. That is a wonderful way to conduct voter suppression, isn't it? On yourself.
That's what I told you last week. Trump or somebody come up and go, look, they're killing Republican voters. Go ahead and get the vaccine. We don't want to lose midterm elections because it's just our voters that are dying because of this shit. And then of course you can go with there's some sort of conspiracy. It's just our voters that are dying because of this. How did China and Joe Biden work that out? You can do all that bullshit if you want to.
Oh, that could never happen.
No, that's 9:05 tonight on Hannity.
No one would ever
Do we have
no one would ever go there.
Now, do we have an official show stance on the latest from Governor Cuomo? Because, again, this is the death by 1,000 cuts, Chinese water torture. Things continue to drip, drip, drip. This guy apparently is going to be impeached. It seems like he won't resign, and this guy has got to go. What is our official show stance on this piece of garbage?
You know what? I don't think we have an official show stance. I think when you drill down, it's sometimes the little anecdotal nuggets about someone and their personality that kind of tell you everything. And in his book, his best-selling book, soon to be an HBO miniseries on how wonderfully he handled the coronavirus. Boy, you want to talk about too soon. that could set the world record for too soon. Writing a book 6 months ago about how great you were in handling the coronavirus in New York, a state where arguably it was not handled all that great. Not that Cuomo was dealt an easy hand, because it spread there first very quickly, and he never caught up. But the nursing home debacle is, it's inexcusable. It's terrible. So what do? You write a book and tell everybody how great you are. But in that book, he talks about the fact that when he got, I guess I'm trying to remember whether it was being elected governor or attorney general, when he finally won, this must have been like 2006, he had felt almost as if he was dying, and this turned his life around. Winning changed everything in his life. Everything got better. In other words, he's another one of these people whose entire life is winning and losing elections. And let's lay that over what we've said the last 5 years about Republican support and fealty to Trump under fear of losing an election or a primary because his voters take it out on you for not supporting the cult leader. We would ask over and over again, is there anything that these people consider important enough standing up for or doing that would cost them their job as an elected official that is worth standing up for? Is there nothing in this country? And we've now found out the answer is no. There is nothing too horrible. There's nothing too horrible that they can't excuse, look away from, and pretend did not happen, whether it's Trump's behavior, Trump's actions as president, Trump's illegal pilfering of the Constitution, his attempt to overthrow the election, his attempt to subvert the Constitution itself and stop the, they have now shown, we asked that question for years, Britt, and we've had the answer now. We thought we did. Now it's completely confirmed. And you know what? Andrew Cuomo is kind of the same way. Is there nothing shameful enough for Andrew Cuomo to say, I've put my daughters through, he has 3 daughters. I guess they're grown, right? I have 3, how's that working out for them running around every day? What's that all about? Or is this one of these where no one would talk about it around them? Do they have this zone of who knows?
Well, it's too late now. They're certainly aware of everything at this point.
Right. But is there nothing that would tell? I never thought there would be somebody that would come along as governor of New York who would make Elliot Spitzer look like Thomas Jefferson. Okay. and here's what. Number one, Spitzer resigned.
Yeah.
And number two, I'll bet you can barely remember why Spitzer resigned. What did he do that was so bad? And of course, the answer is nothing in comparison to Cuomo.
He was he employed what we would call a hooker, I think, is what the deal.
Exactly.
And I think he was with her twice. But again, I think it's called Witness 19 or Client 19. There's a documentary about that if anyone cares. But you're right. The point is, yes, he should go on some sort of Mount Rushmore compared to this clown.
Exactly.
So what I think I heard you saying was there are, at least on the surface, some comparisons between this guy Cuomo and Donald Trump. There, in terms of arrogance and disassociation and win at all costs and that stuff, they're not that dissimilar, right?
Well, there's a whole group of politicians. You can talk about Bill Clinton, Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia. He got in the scandal a couple years ago with the blackface that he denied, and they wanted him to resign because these are pictures of him from 1980 when he was in medical school, which he, by the way, denied, but people said it was him, and he was.
And I don't think they were able to conclusively prove it.
But the pressure was on. The pressure was on, and he said, "No, I'm not giving in to this." Now, there is kind of a difference between that. Again, was that me? Was that not me? And at that moment, he said, "It wasn't me, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend every bit of what time I have left in office, because in Virginia you can't run for re-election anyway. So that was never a consider. He didn't have to worry about that. And I'm going to show you what I can do, what I'm going to do." And guess what? He did it. He did it. Not only did he do it, he did it to the point where Virginia is now a blue state. Think of that. Yeah. Okay. So there's him. Then there's Bill Clinton, who, objectively speaking, here we go again, compared to Cuomo, did nothing, right? But it didn't matter. The stakes are higher. You're the president, and Andrew Cuomo didn't have a Newt Gingrich opposing him to try to drum up the shit to throw against Bill Clinton. So Clinton hung in there, but Clinton had enough goodwill and base political support for things that he did that it never collapsed underneath him. That's not true with Cuomo. Cuomo, he's lost everywhere. He's lost every Democrat of note from Joe Biden on down. I'm not sure who's left. I don't want to throw out the phrase dog catcher. That's unfair to dog catchers. But there might be a Democratic dog catcher in Utica who still thinks Andrew Cuomo's good. But other than that,
home of the Blue Sox, Utica.
Yeah,
it's nice,
but
nice area.
Britt, Cuomo is so narrow in his thinking. He should, but obviously doesn't, and doesn't care, that this is a talking point for every Republican running for every office in 2022. Add it to the list. Add it to the list of pictures or video that can be run in parallel with any Democratic candidate for anything. And it's not important that the guy who's running for the 8th congressional district in California has never met Andrew Cuomo, doesn't know him from shit, but he's a Democrat, and this is how they are.
Doesn't matter.
Right? So we're going to tie him to Gavin Newsom and Andrew Cuomo. This is what you do. You get out of the way. You get out of the way, and you vow to do good things afterwards. I guess the Al Franken comparison is most important here. And again, it's the old, of course, Al Franken did nothing compared to Andrew Cuomo, but Franken, he left, he got taught, he resigned, he got out. And I think he's been pretty dignified and pretty classy ever since then. Every time I've ever seen him, and I've seen him 50 times on show, he never talks about that part of his life. He doesn't talk about getting kicked out of the Senate. He just doesn't do it because you don't want to sound like an ass. You don't sound like a sour grapes puss.
Here's the two and I think this is kind of what sets up. When you have the really egregious people, the Donald Trumps, the Andrew Cuomos, and then you have the people that kind of got a speeding ticket. I mean, the Clinton thing, Elliot Spitzer, and you just talked about Franken. It seems like those guys. It seems like the guys who just got a minor infraction have to pay the cost for these assholes that are out there stacking up.
Let's not call getting impeached a speeding ticket. Bill Clinton.
But there was a bit of politics involved in that, and it was a blowjob. It was a blowjob and a pizza, to be exact. So I mean, I don't know if he really truly versus insurrection and consorting with Russia. So I think you can take those two things and kind of.
I understand it, and of course insanity of both Bill Clinton and Donald Trump got impeached in the House and acquitted in the Senate. Because, of course, getting blowjobs from the girl bringing you a pizza in the Oval Office is equivalent to plotting to overthrow the 230-year world's oldest democracy of the United States. They are equal, so they both deserved to get acquitted.
Precisely.
Because, neither of those things were that bad. See, that's the problem.
And by the way,
the Constitution has outlived its usefulness in so many areas.
it's not.
It's
I don't
too
even know,
old.
I don't know if it's even
not
that
relevant. It doesn't. It doesn't.
But
work
it also
anymore.
is like, yes,
It doesn't work.
Clinton did this and Trump did this, so they're the same thing. That is also the first cousin of Trump did this stuff, but Hillary's email, so they're exactly the same thing. I mean, that's like the first cousin of all. Oh yeah, Trump did some bad things, but Hillary had those emails. So again, they're on the same level, and they're both same sides of the coin. So just pick the guy, because you can't trust her. She's awful and she's terrible.
Well,
When you conflate all of that stuff and make it into one thing and use whataboutism, everything is equated. Jaywalking is murder. When you get into those situations,
yeah,
that's how that works.
That's a way of diminishing and evading responsibility for anything, because blank. What about this?
Exactly.
And that's what the Chinese and the Russians will do, and that's how they have attacked the United States forever whenever we talk about human rights. Well, now, when we talk about liberal democracy, small L liberal democracy, what do? You give people like, you ready, sit down, Viktor Orban, the ability to say to Tucker Carlson, well, look what happened in your country. You almost had a military a coup by the citizenry. That doesn't happen here in Hungary. We're a stable democracy. We're not so sure you are. We're cutting our own throats, and then we have agents within our own ranks, people like Carlson, who think they can exploit it as a ticket to power. I'm giving you, 5 pizzas, 5 on the 5 pizza scale, because I think more than a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, you tagged that motherfucker Carlson as a presidential wannabe. And I think that 5 days over there was a presidential candidate tour de force in waiting for his time. And he doesn't have to run. He doesn't have to run in 24. He can run in.
No,
20.
but what's the conflation among? I mean, what is the message to Republican voters? Is I'm just like this asshole in Hungary, and if you elect me, I can make it. Is that really? And they love that?
They don't think he's an asshole.
No,
they do not think he's an asshole. First of all, here's another thing. And by the way, this is part of the enthrallment of right wingers and conservatives with Benjamin Netanyahu. He spoke perfect English because he spent a lot of time in the United States. And Viktor Orban has a perfect command of English also, a very small accent, very fluent.
it's true.
And that it's a very seductive thing. It's easy to call Putin a dictator. You never hear him speak English. I think he does, but he's not very good at it. Kim Jong-un, all those people, those are dictators. You never heard Fidel Castro speaking English. But again, there was a guy, he did speak English, but chose not to. But Orban sat there with one of our people, and had a great conversation. And so I just think that was, and I know we've circled right back around to this.
Well, but
I really think it's insidious. It is transparent.
It's anti-American. It's anti-democratic.
Right.
Jesus. There's not much more you could say. It's about as It's like Donald Trump Jr. rooting against the Olympic sports teams. That's the amazing thing.
Well, nothing's bad. Nothing.
But look, there is some. I did want to explore this part of it with the Tucker Carlson thing and the authoritarianism thing. We always said for years and years and years that the reason that right-wing talk radio and Fox News, really it was right-wing talk radio and Rush Limbaugh, is that there is something in the Republican, the conservative mindset that has to have things repeated over and over to them. You're not the bad one. They're the crazy ones. You're right. And this is what happened over a number of years. The point of the Rush Limbaugh show and a lot of other conservative hosts was what you want to do is have people call in and parrot back to you almost precisely what you said for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. That's what you want. So is there some sort of link between this authoritarianism thing and the conservative mindset? Hey, things are going all to hell. Jesus, take the wheel. And in this case, Orban, take the wheel.
Britt, there isn't any doubt.
Right.
That's not even debatable, because it's about order. It's about predictability.
Right.
It's about nostalgia for a past that probably never was and never should have been. And if we could just get that back, wouldn't it be wonderful? And the answer is no, it wouldn't, and it wasn't that great. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And when Hitler came to power in 1930, was it 32, 31, 33, whenever it was largely based on a nostalgia for what was before World War I, when Germany ruled the world, when Germany was at the forefront. And then the terrible war, and it was all taken away. And it's an important thing, and it should not be lost. It hasn't been. I'm sure you read as much as I did over the weekend about this. And of course, the defense, the Fox News defense of this is along the lines: liberals melt down over Tucker.
That's
all they've ever got. But there's just no way to sugarcoat this moment. I just don't think that
if Donald Trump had like taken an AK-47 and mowed down protesters in front of the White House, liberals melt down over Donald Trump.
Right.
That would have been.
It doesn't matter what it is, but of course. Hey, look. You know what? We're out of time. I got to go buy a car. But on the next Brad and Brittcast, we're letting this settle in for a day. The new report on the climate of the earth, which this is the most devastating consensus look at what's going on and why the fuck it's so hot and why the fires are breaking out all over the world.
Right.
And they come to this amazing conclusion. That's because it's getting hotter. That's because we've dumped shit into the air now for a couple hundred years.
How about
and
that?
I didn't see the headline, Al Gore was right, so shut the fuck up,
right,
everybody. But and by the way,
better at this. As you pointed out, Republicans are better at this shit.
Right. Al Gore was right more quickly than Al Gore thought, right?
Oh.
But this is a big deal. But don't worry, they're searching hard, and they will have their Dr. Scott Atlas of climate to come up here and claim. This is my favorite. We'll talk about this tomorrow, because I'm sure you recall this. Every time there's a serious discussion of the world getting hotter and the climate changing and what are we going to do, and we have to cut back emissions and hydrocarbons and go as clean energy as we can, the right wingers and the deniers, who, by the way, the overlap between climate science, climate change deniers, and anti-vaxxers, I'll bet you is profound. It's got to be.
Overlap.
Right. But here's what they do. They find one article, one person, and then that person or that is everything. And of course, it was on April 28th, 1975. You know where you were, Britt. What were you,
Sure.
5?
I was preparing for kindergarten.
Right. The cover story of Newsweek was called "The Cooling World,"
oh boy,
where the description was of a significant chilling of the world's climate, with evidence accumulating so massively that meteorologists are hard pressed to keep up with it. Okay, so that was all. That was then, and of course the guy was wrong. Just they were wrong.
And nothing that happened since 1975 matters.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
This is it.
Britt, this is the equivalent of Dr. Fauci said masks don't work back in January or February of last year. So therefore, masks don't work now or ever. and didn't work in the spring and in the they never worked because Fauci said they did. That's how they argue shit. So get ready for that Newsweek article if it hasn't been used yet to get waved around.
Sure, from the Ford administration.
Right, because remember, if they were wrong then, why aren't they wrong now? Right, that's the way they go. So we'll revisit that one on the next Brad and Britt podcast. And by the way, that one's going to be broadcast in color. We're going to go color
in shining color.
Yeah. All right.